Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Green. We are doing another Bible study, First Kings chapter 6. If you'd like me to speak at your church, or if you have any questions, you can email me at godsohman@gmail.com. So, if you remember the last chapter, we talked about Solomon building the temple. We talked a lot about the outside and how it looked on the outside. And today we're going to talk about the inside of the temple. 1 Kings 6. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, the 2nd month, and he began to build the house of the Lord, and the house which King Solomon built for his Lord. The length therefore was 60 cubits, and the breadth therefore 20 cubits, and the height therefore 30 cubits. And if you don't know what a cubit is, if you take the measurement from your elbow to the tip of your middle finger, that's a cubit. Obviously, throughout the years, people had different sized cubits, so later on they actually basically made it 18 inches or thereabouts. So in the future, when you think of a cubit, just think of 18 inches. 1 Corinthians 6 says, What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have in God, and which you are not of your own? For you have brought with a price, therefore glory God in your body and your spirit, which is God's. See, in the Old Testament, they built temples, and they had God live in these temples. But after Christ died, the Holy Spirit came down, and now our bodies are living sacrifices. Our bodies are living temples, so God lives inside of us now. 1 Kings 6:3. And the porch before the Lord, before the temple of the house, 20 cubits was the length thereof, according to the breadth of the house, and 10 cubits was the breadth therefore before the house. And for the house he made windows of narrow lights. And against the walls of the house he built chambers round about. Against the walls of the house round about, both the temple and of the oracle, he made chambers round about. The nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For without in the walls of the house he made narrow nests round about, that the beams should not be fastened in the walls of the house. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone, made ready for the brought thereof, that there was neither hammer, nor axe, nor any tool of iron heard in the house, while it was in the building. So basically what happened was while they were building this temple on the inside, you couldn't hear anything on the outside. And it says here, make it fit before you bring it in. Don't make noise or call attention to your work in God's house, but only he gets the glory. So everything you was going to build, you build on the outside of the temple. And that way when you get into God's house, you're not making a bunch of racket. It's quiet in there so people can actually worship. 3 John 1 says, I wrote it to the church, but to Polyphes, who loveth to have the preeminence among them, receive us not. Wherefore, if I come, I remember his deeds which he doeth, prating against us with malicious words, and not content thereof. Neither doeth himself receive the brethren, and forbid them that would, and casteth them out of the church. We don't want any kind of drama inside the church, so they built all the stuff on the outside and they brought it in. 1 Kings 6, verse 8. The door of the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and they went up with winding stairs to the middle chamber, and out of the middle to the third. So he built the house and finished it, and covered the house with beams and boards of cedar. And then he built chambers against the house 5 cubits high, and they rested in the house with timbers of cedar. And the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, Consider this house which thou art building. If thou wilt walk in my statutes, and execute my judgments, and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then I will perform my word with thee that I spoke to David thy father. So he's telling Solomon, you're building me a house, I'm allowing you to do that, and I'm going to live in this house. And remember, if you walk in my statutes, you execute my judgments, and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then I'm going to give you the promise I gave to your father. 2 Corinthians 7 says, 2 Chronicles 7 says, Thus Solomon finished the house of the Lord, the king's house, and all that came into Solomon's heart to make the house of the Lord, and in his own house he prospered effective. And the Lord appeared in Solomon by night and said unto him, I have heard thy prayer, and I have chosen this place to myself for a house of sacrifice. And he basically gave this promise. And a lot of people kind of misquote this promise. This promise says, if I shut up the heavens, there be no rain. Or if I command the locusts to devour the land. Or if I send pestilence among my people. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and heal their land. So God's basically telling Solomon, if you follow all my rules, I'm going to protect you. And if bad things happen, you're not going to be affected by it. Because he's protecting you, because you're protecting him, you're honoring him, you're worshiping him. 1 Kings 6:13. And I will dwell among the children of Israel, and I will not forsake my people Israel. So Solomon built a house and finished it. And he built the walls of the house within with boards of cedar, both the floor of the house and the walls of the ceiling, and he covered them on the inside with wood. And he covered the floors of the house with planks of fir. And he built 20 cubits on the sides of the house, both the floor and the walls of boards of cedar. He even built them within, even in the oracle in the most holy place, and the house that is the temple before it was 40 cubits long. So this is basically like an artist rendition of what the temple would look like. It was built with cedar, and then it was interlaid with gold on the inside. And the cedar of the house within was carved with knobs of open flower, all with cedar. There was no stone seen. And the oracle he prepared for the house within to set there of the ark of the covenant of the Lord. And the oracle of the forepart was 20 cubits in length, and 20 cubits in breadth, and 20 cubits in height thereof. And he overlaid it with pure gold, so they covered the altar which was of cedar. So if they're going to have stone on the outside, then you're going to have cedar wood, then the inside is going to be lined with gold, so that you're not going to be able to see the stone or the wood. And remember, a cubit is 18 inches, so it's 20 cubits by 20 cubits by 20 cubits, or 30 feet wide, 30 feet high, and 30 feet long. And that's where we're going to keep the Holy of Holies, the Ark of the Covenant. So Solomon overlaid the house within with pure gold, and he made a partition by the chains of gold before the oracle, and he overlaid it with gold. And the whole house he overlaid with gold until he finished all the house. And to the whole altar that was by the oracle he overlaid it with gold. And the reason why it's gold and not stone and wood is because gold represents a king, or gold represents royalty. And he felt that God was the king of everything, so he wanted to make everything gold for God. And within the oracle he made 2 cherubims of olive tree, each 10 cubits high. And 5 cubits was the one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits was the other wing of the cherub. From the outermost part of the one wing to the uttermost part of the other wing were 10 cubits. And there's a lot of different artist renditions of what this possibly could look like. So I'm just going to go through a couple of them here. This has like angelic type beings, wings touching. This right here is kind of like a sarcophagus here, and you can see that how that looks. And you can see these people have feet for some reason in the sarcophagus head. Here's another one here, some kind of like angelic type being. And again, it's got really weird feet. I don't understand why that is, but that's okay. And here's another one right here of 2 angels looking at the Ark of the Covenant. There's another one I saw right here of 2 angels standing there looking at the Ark of the Covenant. The verbal descriptions have led many different ideas of what it could look like. Here's something similar as well. And after doing a lot of research, intense research, I decided that I don't know, and probably nobody knows what it really looks like. There's a lot of great ideas. There's a lot of really cool ideas I've showed you in this little video here. And I really have no idea what it looks like because there's not enough information. And you can see here at the bottom they have normal feet on this one. And here's another idea right here. And we're just going to have to wait to get to heaven and watch the video of how this is to know what exactly it looked like. And the other cherub was 10 cubits. Both the cherubs was one measure and one size. And the height of the one cherub was 10 cubits, and so it was for the other cherub. And he set the cherubs within the inner house, and they stretched forth their wings of the cherubs. So the wings of the one touched the one of the wall, and the wings of the other cherub touched the other wall, and their wings touched one another in the midst of the house. And he overlaid the cherubs with gold, and he carved all the walls of the house round about with carved figures of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers, within and without. And the floor of the house he overlaid with gold within and without. And for entry into the oracle he made doors of olive tree, the lintel, the side post, the fifth part of the walls. 2 doors were also of olive tree, and he carved upon them carvings of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold, and spread gold upon the cherubs and upon the palm trees. And olive trees, they really grow really gnarly. It's really interesting how the base of the olive trees look, and the wood of the olive tree is absolutely beautiful. Here's some pictures of olive tree wood and the marbling and how beautiful it looks. So also he made for the door of the temple post of olive tree, a 4th part of the wall. The 2 doors were of fir tree. The 2 leaves of the one door were folding, and the 2 leaves of the other door were folding. And he carved therein cherubs of palm trees and open flowers, and covered them with gold fitted with the carving wood. And he built the inner courts with 3 rows of huge stone and a row of cedar beams. So they made the walls look really nice and pretty too, and they put angels and palm trees and stuff on the inside as well. And I'm sure these are some type of ideas of what it might have looked like as well. Now the 4th year was the foundation of the house that the Lord laid in the mount of Ziph. And the 11th year in the month of Bul, which is the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts thereof. And according to the fashion of it, it was 7 years of building it. So it took him 7 years to build this temple. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you have any questions, you can email me or you can comment below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about me and everything like that. On the bottom left, the bottom right of the screen, I'm going to put the 1 Kings Bible study. Top left of the screen is going to be Exodus Bible study. And the bottom left of the screen is going to be a video that YouTube thinks you might like to watch. Although usually it's the video before this, but we'll see what goes up there. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.